Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back again to another Mindset Mastermind, where we get our daily dose of inspiration, motivation, a whole lot of information so we can have a day of perspiration, working hard, smart, and enjoyable in our businesses. That being said, as always, we use content. We are just really kicking off ninja selling. And guys, man, talk about mindset. Today's content I want to make sure we have conversations about is principle number 1, personal mastery, and at least chapters 1, 2, and 3. I know I told you to read through chapter 4. I think that was a lot of content to digest and journal about. So let's see how just talking about the first principle and the first 3 chapters goes. They're like 4 pages apiece, and yet amazingly chock full of content. And as always, it's your room. I am here to facilitate. That's it. So you guys get to talk about, you guys get to share your takeaways. And by all means, I got my list ready to go here of people who have mics hot ready. So Joe Havlick, brother, your mic is hot. What did you take away from the content?
Well, I tied in by the way, my mic was up inadvertently, but I'm ready. I tied in my Michael Singer reading, and I know we've talked about that before. And just going with the personal mastery aspect of it, and really focusing on the first aspect of that, I liken that to controlling, or at least monitoring or managing appropriately your thoughts and your emotions. So it feels like actually a very Zen kind of precept to me, being the witness conscious to the world going around me, and trying to put those things that are not me, my thoughts and my feelings, in perspective in the world, and moving on from there.
Yeah, I love how he opened this. The ninja path starts with a commitment to mastery, to being the very best you can be. And I love it doesn't say the ninja path starts with being a master. It says it starts with a commitment to this path of mastery. And here's the fun part. How do you know someone is truly committed to the path of mastery? And I will share this with you. They never believe that they are truly a master. It's always learning. It's always getting better. It's always being open to the possibilities and being present and listening to others. And I know you guys are on the path to mastery because you're here today. Miss April, you're up.
What really stuck out to me was in the principle when he talked about mindset, skill set, and actions, and mindset being the most important, and that you have to be able to correct yourself without condemning yourself. I can be super, super hard on myself, so I always have to keep that in mind that, like, I'm my worst critic too.
Well, and it's so important, April, to keep that in check, because that judgment, and that's what it is. We say we're our worst critic. We are the biggest judgers of ourselves. In fact, judge, jury, and executioner all wrapped up in one. And if we're doing that to ourselves, we're also doing it to others. If we're doing it ourselves, that's the energy we're putting out there. And as Joe brought into the room, it starts with catching it, acknowledging it, and then changing those thoughts. Again, if odds are, April, you're hard on yourself when something doesn't go right, correct?
Correct. Yep.
So instead of focusing on what you did wrong, which is that judgment, I always love getting people to focus on what's the lesson. Where's the learning moment? Where do I get to get better? And that makes all the difference in the world. Toby, I see you. You're up. And then Josh, you are right after. And then Dustin in 3rd place. Let's go. What do you got, Toby?
Well, Coach Rush, I just got the book from Dustin via PDF format. I have read the book, but it's been a little while. So I'm not totally dialed in on where we are.
Fair enough. Well, I appreciate your mic being hot. I appreciate the authenticity, and make sure you crack that open. And this is for everybody who's just getting the content. It's okay. And we have people that just showed up today for the first time. And by the way, if you're in here and you're in that above 50, you're in big room mode or whatever they call it, stick with us. I'm going to help you guys at the end of this, I promise. That being said, get caught up on the content. This is key. This is important to making magic happen. All right, Josh, what'd you pull out of this, brother?
Just one comment on that. Stay up to date. This is one of the books that when we read it a year ago almost. It's an easy book to catch up on, and it's also an easy book to keep on reading and get ahead. So it works for you both sides. It was interesting in chapter 2, they talk about good vibrations. Can you have a positive vibe, and can you read other people's vibes? And in our business, there at times is a lot of negativity or stress or confusion. I had this come up yesterday on an appointment. I could tell that she was just acting off a little bit, and she was just frustrated in the process of finding a home. And if you let their frustration or your nerves or any kind of what they're giving off on their vibes affect you, it's tough, because you've got to be the person that calms the situation, that controls the thoughts a little bit, and it really can be quite important to keeping on the right track.
Yeah, Josh and I had one of those yesterday. He had an agent that was not 100%
Thanks.
happy with the end result of their experience. And did she go to a real negative place, Josh?
She did.
Yes, she did. Had a 45-minute conversation with her yesterday, which was about 35 minutes of her going through that negative, and then me staying positive and asking. And by the way, low vibration positive, which is in the book, and one of you can dig deeper on that. But staying there and helping them through a question-driven conversation, self-discover and change their own energy. Guys, your positive energy will always drown out their negative. The light is always stronger as long as you keep it turned on. And man, that's what I want to see you guys do. Dustin, what do you got, brother?
So Don's going to love this one. So this is the quote that he had right in the beginning of the principle 1. So for things to change for you, first you must change. And we're going to hear this multiple times in this book. So an easy way to remember this, and you guys may want to write it down, but I use the BAR method for an acronym. So the B stands for being, or who you have to be. Then the A stands for the actions. And then the R is for results. So first is what Jim Rohn is saying. You have to figure out who you have to be before you can take those actions to get those results. And we could dive very deep into that, but that's one way to remember it a little bit easier.
I do want to dive into it, because one of the things that's out there in many places, Landmark had it. Forget where they may have gotten it. It might be Jim Rohn. Don can tell us that, because he happened to know that guy pretty close. It's this concept, which is identical, Dustin, of be, do, have.
Yep.
And it's so interesting to me as we get into this victim part of this. Most of what we deal with out there in the public domain lives in that victim space and has an attitude. If I only had what Don had, I could do what Don does, and I could be like Don Hobbs. They have this this have, do, be concept in their life. And they continue to struggle, because with that mindset, you might as well just have a doobie and chill, because that's going to be the level of your success. So I run into then real estate agents. I love you guys that are in this room that are in real estate. And you're always calling me, telling me, okay, Russ, tell me what to do. Tell me what to say. And I see all the time agents who implement that, and they do, and they're doing all the right stuff, and they're do, and their life turns into do. Because they still haven't focused on the lead domino. And this lead domino, is Dustin brought in, of who are you being? What are you believing? How are you behaving? You focus on who you're being first, and 90% of your success lives on that side of the equation, mindset. 10% is skill set. You focus on who you're being first and live, be, do, have, and magic happens. Hobbs, I see your mic hot. What do you got to add to this, brother?
Oh, I'm just going to do this real quickly, but I think the biggest thing for each of you, and some of you have been around me long enough to know I have the 4 pieces of leverage, and it goes personal growth, then it goes to systems, and it goes to marketing, then it goes to other people. So you've got stages of leverage. How do we get leverage? How do we be bigger than we are? But number one, I want to go back to number one is your personal growth. The first thing that multiplies you is your growth. And if you want to liken it to a pipe, you've got a certain amount of throughput that you can push through that pipe. And at some point, if you keep pushing more through, and think about success, results, more, I want to do more, to your doing comment, Russ. We push more through, we create more pressure. At some point, the pipe breaks, ruptures. And of course, that happens in the real world. It happens in our hearts. We have an aneurysm in our brain. Something happens from the pressure. When we expand ourselves, when we grow ourselves, we have greater capacity. It's not that we can't handle more, it's that we haven't trained ourselves. We haven't gotten to the mindset piece where we can allow more in our lives. So again, this, Larry's whole conversation is going to get to the skill sets, but I'm telling you what, one of the things that really sets his book apart for me is the ninja mindset. This is one of the key points to land, is when you start thinking differently, you change everything. And Robert, I'm not sure, I read your comment.
I wanted to bring it into the room, Don. I was gonna call him out live on what he put in the chat.
Yeah,
because I think he needs to go a little deeper on that.
Yeah, I think there's a piece that I'll just, I think this is where he's going, but that when we can't change other people, but when we change, our relationship to others changes, therefore they change. Like everything changes around us. You and I used to hang out in a room. We were doing stuff during COVID in Clubhouse. And we used to laugh and say, it's almost like, you think the world revolves around you? And to some degree, the world does revolve around you because it's your world. So it's your energy that you're putting out that changes your world. You want to change your everything? Change you and watch what happens around you. I don't know what he's doing, but he's doing something. He's smiling.
Are we frozen? Okay, me. Oh, so hey, before I go into that quote that I wrote in there, I wanted to just share something that just hit me in the forehead like a ton of bricks, and it's on page 10, the last paragraph. It says, another step on the path to mastery is the removal of resentment towards masters. I mean, how many times are we being coached and we're like, oh, wait, no, let me tell you why I'm doing it this way, or let me tell you why it's not going to work. Or go, Russ, to your quote, stop telling me why not and start telling me how to, right? So one of the things is sometimes we can't see things through the lens of a master, and we have to sometimes just take it by faith and move forward.
That's
so that was the one sentence that stood out to me in these first 4 chapters. So that quote, you can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. So I remember hearing, and we've all heard this, your income is the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. And when I heard that, I was like, holy cow, I'm going to need to get all new friends. Because I didn't like the income of the people I was hanging out with. So kind of using that as an illustration, if you can't change the negativity, you can't change people around you. However, you can get new people around you. And that's where that quote goes. You can get new people. Being in this group is getting new people around you. And the positive energy that comes from it, because we're all learning from each other. Nobody is, I mean, this is a journey, right? It's not a destination. And what I like about this is part of this journey is repetition. This is the first book we go into for a second time. And I know there's a couple others on the on the horizon, but this was so good collectively as a group. We're like, we got to dive into that one again because, well, what's the quote? No one steps into the same river twice because it's not the same river and you're not the same person. So reading this a second time, especially if you highlight it with different colors, I mean, you can see your own personal growth from first read to second read to third read. So anyway, that's my 2 cents for today.
Awesome, Robert. And I love how you brought in the improvement of your circle. There's always options. Again, you're always open to possibilities and things changing. Hey, even me and making a quick internet swap so I can get back to you guys. So thank you for running the room as I was running through a little struggle there, you know. One of the many joys of Puerto Rico. They say this place is 90% paradise and 10% hell. So, Mike, you're up, brother. What do you got?
Is it this Mike?
Mike Coffin, yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. I'm sorry to get into the group late. I think some of the commonalities I've learned over 20 years of being in and out of coaching is not to apologize for your success or excuse your success away. I think it degrades your attempt at relearning. I think it degrades your attempt at being better at what you're doing. And it's not all about financial. It's about being a better person. It's about being happier with yourself. Yeah, see, my dog agrees. And I think once we get over some humps that we are worth it and we do have value and we add value to our business, the success, we already know it's unlimited. It's how do we tap into it without feeling guilty or as Robert said, you need a new circle. You're as strong as your weakest link. There's so many ways we can go about this, but it really is a personal journey. And that's where I'm at with my coach, Dustin, is I'm walking a different path that I've never walked before. I'm sure it's age related. I'm going to be 67 this year. And so there's just things I've got to work through and not have it interfere with my business. Thank you for your time and appreciate the group.
Yeah, well, glad you're here, Mike. And this is, again, back to the content, a personal journey towards mastery. So let's get into this mastery principle just a little bit to kind of reset the room. Mastery is a product of consistently going beyond our limits, self-imposed or otherwise. Commit yourself to excellence, to surround yourself with things that represent this, and miracles. Your life will change. The first step to mastery is the removal of everything in your environment that represents mediocrity. Remove those things that are limiting. Surround yourself with friends who ask more of you than you do. We've all been in that situation before with a mentor, a teacher, a friend, a coach who's believed in you more than you've believed in yourself. Get more of those and remain open and receptive. You're not the smartest person in any room. Magic's going to happen. Camacho, your mic's still hot? I'm just checking in on you.
Well, that was an accident. Sorry.
I'll take happy little accidents. I know somebody else that does the same thing. Who else has stuff from these first 3 chapters, things that hit you right between the eyes that you want to share with the room? I see. Boy, they're just popping in here. I love it. Rhonda, Carrie, and then I'm coming back to you, Joe.
I'm just going back to the changing of the vibe, and it really did hit home. I remember a girlfriend of mine telling me a long time ago when I was younger, I was this outgoing, always excited about everything type person. And, as I've gotten older, life beat you up a little bit. And so reading this, I kind of remembered what she had said because of a relationship. She said, I feel like he knocked your confidence down. It was like a guy that, really loved and he evidently, it was one of those, like the Jay Giles song. He loves her, she loves him, he loves somebody else, you just can't win. It was kind of like that. And I had thought about it. She told me this many years later, and I reading this brought that back, and And I realized over the course of my life, my vibe really has changed. And I'm going to take it back. I'm ready to, like, you know what? I'm pushing all of that. I'm finding that light switch deep down inside of me that was that vibe from long ago, the excitement, the energy, and I want to find that switch and flip it back on and get back in the game. So here I am. I'm ready to stop broadcasting on the victim channel and start broadcasting on the player channel. I'm in the game.
Excellent. Excellent. And here's just a fun question for you, Rhonda. You said life beats you down. Who historically beats you down even more?
Me.
Thank you. And so right from page 16, you control your vibe with your thoughts and your feelings, which also you can control. And here's kind of the cool part. Your first thought, I give you a pass on. Your second, third, fourth, fifth is a choice to stay in that energy, to stay in that vibe. And so you've got to stop, you've got to pause, and you've got to change that thought, change that story. And the fun part is it's just like muscles. If you start working out, well, all the guys at the gym that only do upper body and they have legs like pencils, right? They're working on this part, they're not working on that part. And if they just start working on the legs, magically they'll grow. Your neurons are exactly the same. Neurons that fire together, wire together, and it becomes a permanent, stronger, and all of a sudden your natural tendency will be to stay on the positive side of the equation. Carrie, you were next up.
Okay, so I have in the mastery section, page 11, correction is essential to power and mastery. So that stood out to me because it kind of like, if that's like something we can remember and have in the forefront so that we're not dwelling into the failure or the thinking of it as a failure or a mistake, right? And that's the lesson. And then we need to keep moving to, not to get into that. So I've been trying to put little things like that in front of me during the day so that I can remember that, yes, you're moving forward. Even if it's a little, we're still moving forward.
Fail often, fail fast, fail forward. Right. The only difference between you and somebody playing at a higher level than you is they have screwed up more. That's it. You only see the success. You don't know all the screw ups between point A and point Z they went through. So just know every time things go awry, that's your learning lesson and you're accelerating even faster. Joe, then Alexis.
Okay, thanks, Russ. And I, like Mike, am a spring chicken, and I like to think that I'm growing a lot. And I just wanted to share that every once in a while, I feel like I've got some things figured out. And that arrogance of having known, at one level, it says it's slowing down growth because you can't grow as fast if you're not open to new things. But I would like to take it a step further and suggest that maybe it actually eliminates the possibility of growth. If you feel like you have it all down, you're really kind of done. And growth is the number one thing, like Don was saying earlier, and I think it's a reason for living.
Right.
Yeah, what I will see with people as a coach, they're folks that will always say, yeah, but. You're attempting to help, you're sharing, you're coaching. I know Camacho, Hobbs run into this all the time, where if we're with someone new into our world coaching and they say, yeah, that sounds great, but here's why I'm going to stay in my old ways. They
Right.
don't have a ninja mindset. They don't have a growth attitude. Alexis, you're up.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
A few things that resonated with me about the first two chapters are you observe and not absorb, right? So once you give someone that power over you with their negativity, then they won, right? Two, be the change that you wish to see in the world, which is one of my favorite quotes. And that really resonated with me with the first quote on the first chapter. Because if you want to change the world, you have to change yourself. And what Don really said I loved is, you know, when you work on what's going on inside, everything around you changes. So, yeah.
Well, phenomenal that is leaning into you, Alexis, and I cannot wait to watch your growth in 2025 with that attitude. Love your energy. Who else? I got some mics not on, some folks who haven't spoke up, and this is your guys' room. Doug, brother, I have
I'm
missed
going to
you
jump
today. What
in
do you
real
got?
quick on the Maria example. It was a lady that was basically having a really hard time, and she took the class and she was doing great. And he asked her, what was the one thing you learned in the ninja installation that helped you the most? And she said it was the ninja mindset. His response is interesting. The morning attitude, the morning routine, I asked. Yes, she exclaimed. The morning routine is the place where you're building you. It's the mindset. It's where you're putting you in the place where you are growing. And like Don was saying, and several others, that we've got to work on us so that we can be the person we need to be, so that our do grows and does better instead of tries to kill us, so that we get the result we want.
Absolutely, man. And thank you, Doug, for bringing that in, because that section on player versus victim. And I love how she discovered and acknowledged in the moment, wait a minute, no one wants to work with a victim. So if business isn't showing up, maybe, just maybe, it's that mindset. Mr. Camacho, wrap us up, and then I want to give everybody a heads up about tomorrow.
I just wanted to explain the point FAR that's been in the chat a couple of times, the PTFAR, which is something we use in coaching for many, many years, which is our programming. We're born with it, can't change it. Our programming initially leads to our thoughts, which leads to our feelings, which leads to our actions, which leads to our results. And those results create new programming. So that is point FAR. And those of you who used to be with Russ and I, or Don in the bold rooms, you guys know what we're talking about.
And those of you that have ever done any NLP for the last 3-4 decades have heard point ear, emotions instead of feelings. And it's the same darn cycle, which, by the way, in a later time, we'll talk about how you can even drive it in reverse. Kind of fun.